Can I start with a question?
Yes.
So I listened over to the shiur, and I missed a little here and there, and I was going through the Pesach Tshuva and everything. I'm not getting a straight answer in regard with when you take off the mezuzahs for checking. Is it a must? Is it better that you should leave one mezuzah and check it in 2 times? That's question number 1 that I'm not getting straight. From a more important to a chiyuv or to a not chiyuv, if all my rooms in my house are all bechiyuv and regular rooms, then does it make a difference if it goes back on the mezuzah in the proper place? Do I still need to make sure that the kitchen goes in the kitchen and the bedroom goes? I mean, the kitchen, the bedroom, the front door, the back door, all these doors are all chayiv.
Whatever is a mechiyev b'mezuzah, then it's not a problem. But if you have ones which is a machloikes, if it's a mechiyev b'mezuzah, and one, for instance, it doesn't have a door, or
doesn't have a door, but it has a door post.
Yeah, but according to the Rambam, if it doesn't have a door, even though it has a door post, it's not mechiyev b'mezuzah.
Right.
So you're going to take from a room which is 100% mechiyev b'mezuzah, you're going to put it in a place which is not 100% mechiyev b'mezuzah. So you, it's marid and mekidushusoy. So that's.
And is there? Yes. Okay. So that takes care of that. And is it better, or does it not matter if I take down all the mezuzahs at once?
Yeah, but are you planning it to put back the same day?
Not the same day. Definitely not the same. Whenever someone gives me mezuzahs, I tell them it's definitely a week.
Oh, so it's g'day that should be in 2 days. That they should have some kind of mezuzah. They should have some at least. Yeah. If you take out the main room, the main house, at least you should have in the bedroom. Agam, we will see the Ramo says that the people who only put one mezuzah in front of the door, it's a tool. But after Pekan, that was the minig like that. And so therefore, at least if you can make that, it should be one mezuzah, because after all, mezuzahs are shmira. So if
if a person has one mezuzah, he doesn't have a choice. It is what it is.
It is what it is. But yeah, exactly.
Okay, fine. One last thing, with the room, I was eating in someone's house.
You are a sofer?
I'm not a sofer, but I'm a shliach. So people, okay.
Yeah.
No, people give me the mezuzahs all the time, and they ask me.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I ate in someone's house. I actually asked them to send me a picture, so I could have a picture. He has a full heketzir, a ches, a full ches. It's not a door. On this side, it goes straight from the floor, goes up, goes like this. And on this side, in the middle, is a sink connected to the wall. So you
sink has a cabinet or what?
It's a sink. It's like there's a sink. There's a cabinet under.
Basically, why isn't the sink not a 1 second? The sink is connected, or it's just
it's connected. It's connected to the wall. It's connected to the wall.
Connected to the wall. So basically, that's part of that's part of the. In how tall is it? Is it 10 tefachim?
Maybe. I don't know.
If it's not 10 tefachim, then for sure, then there's not an issue. You put it then on the other wall. But if it has 10 tefachim, and it's connected, it's fully connected. Over there. So that's the mezuzah. As I mentioned last week,
it might be too short.
Some people have a kitchen. What?
Right. I remember what you said last week. So you're saying that I mean it's basically by my waist. It's like a regular.
If it has 10 tefachim or not, which is about 10 tefachim is about 35 inches. 6 inches that area.
So if it's 6 inches, then it should be on the actual side of the cabinet.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. Now, going from one room to another, chiyuv, it also was last week. From the more living room to the less living room. I was always told from the more important to the less important.
Is what?
I have from where to where.
Told the what?
That's how you do yamin hanichnas like that. In other words, I have a kitchen, okay?
Yeah.
And then I have not a door, a ches, going into the dining room, okay?
Yes.
And then from the dining room, I have the living room, also a ches.
From the dining room, you're going into the living room.
The dining room has two openings.
Yeah.
The dining room has two openings.
Okay.
Here. No, it's blurry. Not blurry, none. Here.
Okay.
See? Here is one side. I'm in the dining room. So this is the kitchen.
Yes.
And this is the other room. It's the living room. Sliced.
So it's not panimi. So okay.
So I have here a mezuzah on the right side,
which is going in from the kitchen to the dining room.
From the kitchen into the living room, into the dining room.
Okay.
And then I have again. Yeah, and then I have again going from the living room, going into the kitchen, going into the dining room, also on the right side.
Okay.
So that both works.
You have another entrance going into the living room?
Yes, here. This is the main entrance of the house, and here is the right side going into the living room. Okay,
so it sounds good. You're going into the living room, that's the right side. Then you're going in from living room into the dining room, also on the right side. And then from the kitchen to the dining room is also on the right side. Okay.
So everything is good.
In Shi'ur says that Pnimi is the most important. Then goes in Chshivas. So you did it correctly, basically, in this case.
Right.
Because most of the time you'll go from the kitchen into the dining room. Because into the kitchen you go you have probably entrance into the kitchen from the dinette, from the hall.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so that should be the perfect place.
Just say that. Okay.
Yeah.
That should clarify.
Okay, let's start. If anyone has more questions, we could first go over the questions. If not, we'll start where we're up to. One thing I want to correct, because somebody asked me after the shiur, and I just want to make clear you don't understand. I said that if a person is in a hotel, even if he's in a hotel more than 30 days, it's not mechi b'mezuzah. What we have to recognize, I only meant if a person goes into a hotel and then he goes in again, and then he decides he wants to be there. Then such a case, you're not mechi b'mezuzah, because every day, once you want to go again, they could change your rooms. If a person comes into a hotel and wants to stay for 2 months, for instance, a person goes in the country, and he goes to a hotel and he wants to be for 5 weeks, that's a pundik. And then, in such a case, you are mechi b'mezuzah, because that's because you are going to be there. You rented it out for 5 weeks. If you're coming into a hotel and then you decide to stay another day, day by day, because every day is separate. But if you coming like a for 30 days, that's called a pundik. And the pindig in Mechai, as we mentioned, after 30 days. Just want to clarify, because somebody asked me already this question, and I just wanted this thing to clarify and get it out of the way. Okay, just to finish a couple of things from last week, which I didn't get to, and we'll go now to Simarash by Zion with the halachas, which has to do with that. As I mentioned, to be mechi b'mezuzah has to be a bayis that has dalat al dalat. Now, if you have dalat al dalat, a laundry room, but you have cabinets which is connected to the wall, top to bottom, so now you don't have dalat al dalat, so therefore it's not considered dalat al dalat. But if you have washer and dryer, which is connected to with gas lines, but basically it's not really connected, you can take it out. Or you have a big freezer inside, or you have, let's say, a big heater inside, all these things will not diminish the dalat al dalat. So therefore, will still be mechiyev b'mezuzah, because only when it's a cabinet, which basically you cannot take it out. It's part of the room. It's part of the wall. Then it takes away from the dalat damal. But it's not that case. Then even though if you have a lot of stuff there, and even though it's stuff which is basically you can't move, then it's still b'mechiyev b'mezuzah because it has dalat dalat. Another thing, a miklat, and it's true. In Israel, there's such thing as a miklat, which it's a big room, and belongs bais shel shittim. Bais shittim mechiber mezuzah. So it is mechiber mezuzah because it's a machzan. But usually people store over these things. Therefore, it is considered like a bais oitzer, and a bais oitzer mechiber mezuzah, as we mentioned in the previous week. A bracha, it's not good to make, as we had the shmis about bais oitzer. Then you should make a bracha somewhere else and then put in the mezuzah. As we mentioned for last week, which we're going to have this week again a couple of times, that whenever you have a suffix or ein rishonim which says you put him in mezuzah, you don't put. So therefore, you put somewhere else and you put then on the bais oitzer. But if it's a maklad, which is you don't storage over there anything, it is only open when there's a case of an emergency. Then you go down. Then it's potem in mezuzah because you don't have any tashmishim, so it's not bais oitzer, and you potem from a mezuzah. Another halacha, I mentioned it, but I didn't finish it correct. You know, all aspects is we mentioned such a thing as tasiv lo minusi. That means if a person puts a mezuzah on a doorpost, on a door frame, and he takes off the whole door frame, together with the mezuzah, then we say that you have to take off the mezuzah, and you cannot put on the mezuzah the door frame together with the mezuzah. That's called tasiv lo minusi. But if a person has a door frame with a door, and he takes it off, and he puts a mezuzah, and he takes off the door. Now, according to the Rambam, is potem for putting a mezuzah. Yeah. Then he decides to put back the mezuzah. In such a case, since as he brought Rabbi Michael, then in such a case, you are going to you don't need to take off the mezuzah because that's not called tasiv lo minusi. When you take off the whole post, and it's a common problem because people rebuild their house and they take off the doorposts with the mezuzah. And then they just put back their door because the door is a nice door. It's a nice French door. But that's a problem of tasiv lo minusi. But if you only take down the door, not the doorpost, then you don't here have an issue of tasiv lo minusi. The same will go to a question which I had this week. Someone installed a sukkah, the new kind of sukkah with the with the opens with the what is it called skylight sukkahs. So he took off. He had a room which had a tikra, has a roof, ceiling. He took off the whole thing and he installed a sikah roof. So in the meantime, when he didn't have a tikra, we know the halacha that a bais aylan tikra is potem in a mezuzah. So now, when he put out the mezuzah when he had a roof, a ceiling. Now he took it off, so it's potem in a mezuzah. And now, after installing this skylight, he has still a tikra. In such a case, you are also not mechiv to take it off and put it back, because since you put it on when it was a chiyuv, although in the meantime was it in the situation that it was a potar because you took off the ceiling, but it's not a problem of tasiv lo minusi, and it's perfectly fine, and you don't have to take off the mezuzah. We spoke last week about a little bit about the Beis Medrash, a basic nesses, but a Beis Medrash, which people sit there all day and learn Torah by day and by night, and they eat there, it is mechiv b'mezuzah. The same will go also to a school, a yeshiva building, a school building, which they sit and learn, although it's not made for sleeping over there, but since it is a place which they sit by day and night, and they eat there. So therefore, it is like a office, but you put a mezuzah, but you don't make a bracha. Same as we mentioned that you should not put a mezuzah on an office. You should put a mezuzah on an office, but you could not make a bracha of it over there because it is some person say that you have to be able to sleep there. So therefore, you put a mezuzah, so a besmedrash and a school or a office building, all of these things, you should put a mezuzah without a bracha. A elevator is a common question. You have a 6-story floor building. You put a mezuzah on an elevator or not? So over here we have three shittas. There is a shitta, which is Rav Avad Yosef and the B'tzayla Chochma, the B'tzayla Shteden, which hold you're not mechib mezuzah at all. You don't need to put a mezuzah. Why? It's a diras aray, and it is a house which is metaltelas. So it's not a mukim kaviyah. It's not a thing which is kaviyah, because we could ask a question. Or let's assume it's a bias. It's a cheder which is less than $1. So the point which we're going to see soon, which say that you mechiv to put a mezuzah, is the reason because it's a base shar. It is a hallway, so to speak. It is a base shar which brings you up to the hallway on the 2nd floor, on the 3rd floor. And we know a base shar is mechiv mezuzah, even though it doesn't have $1. So we have an elevator which you're going into the elevator in order to bring you up to the 2nd floor, and then going out on the 2nd floor. It's a base shar for the 2nd floor, and therefore, according to the poskim which say you are mechiv mezuzah, is you have to put a mezuzah going on the door on the house of the elevator, going into the elevator. But the B'tzayla Chochma and the other poskim hold that it's not mechiv mezuzah at all. Why? Because it's a house which is metallic. It's not a kaviyah. And a beishar has to be also a kaviyah. They learn it out from the Gemara in Masechtas Sukkah, because the Gemara brings over there a sikkas hayotzrim. You have two sikkas, which in the inside you live, and in the outside you don't live. So the Gemara says that the outside is potim and amazizah, the chitzoin is potim and amazizah, and the inside is chayv and amazizah. So the Gemara asks why is the outside mazizah potter, the outside room is potim and amazizah? Why shouldn't it be like a beis shar for the inside and a beis shar mechib mazizah? And the Gemara answers the loy kaviyah. It's not kavua. That means it's not a thing which was always there. It's not a stable thing. You once you have it, you don't have it. You can take it off. You can put it back. And the case of Mishnah explains the wording of the Rambam, which explains that the ikar is a beis shar. In order to be mechiv, has to be a kavidi, a beis shar. And anything which is not kaviyah, it's potem in a mezuzah. So now comes the B'tzayla Chochma in the Rav Avadia, which says an elevator is not kaviyah. Goes up, goes down. You know, it's not a beis shar, especially for 2nd floor. It goes up and down. So therefore, they hold it's potem and a mezuzah at all. You don't have to put a mezuzah. Then there's the choyves hadar, which you know is probably the Rabbi Yankel Bloy, which made a sefer on mezuzah.
So Avad Yosef is basically saying what? He's basically saying it's like, say, a giant refrigerator, just because you can't lift it with your hands, but it's not connected to the floor. So it's like a giant. Say you had a giant refrigerator.
So it's not a base. Yeah. So it's not a beis shar. So if it's not a beis shar, why should it be mechiv mezuzah? For what? For what reason? It's not a house. It's not a beis shar. So Gandhi, don't put a mezuzah at all. But the other points can disagree, and they hold the you are mechiv mezuzah. Where? Oh, now we have a set sub machlokas. Do you put a mezuzah going in to the room or going out. So that means like this. Do you put on the elevator itself one mezuzah on the elevator? Yeah, because the elevator is a beshar for the floor, so you put one going into the hallway. That's enough. That's one shitta. That means you put it. I'll just explain in a minute the reason. Some say you put it on the mezuzah going out from the elevator. Some will say going into the mezuzah inside. Some will say every floor needs a mezuzah. And some say that you need going into the elevator and going out of the elevator. So what's the reasoning? Let me just explain it. The Choyves will say you have to put on each floor going into that room, because you're going into the malit, you're going into that room, to the bashar, so you have to have a mezuzah. So every floor has to has a mezuzah, but going into that room, because you're going into that room to the bashar, so bashar bechim mezuzah. The Mechzitzchak in the Chamida Daniel hold no. The Mechzitzchak holds no, and it says you put it going on the elevator going into the big room, according to the Chamida Daniel. Remember last week we spoke that we have a bedroom, and the bedroom goes into a small room which has a sink, for instance, and then it divides. Right side is a walk-in closet, left side is a toilet, which is very popular in houses. So the Chamida Daniel says that you put a mezuzah in the small room, even it doesn't have dalat, going in to the big room, because it is as if it's a beshar to the big room. So you're going to put it in the small room towards the big room. So the Mechzitzchak says, according to this, the same thing will be by a malit, by elevator. The small room, it's a beshar, so you have to put it the way from the elevator going into the hallway. Therefore, that's the way how you got to do it. That's the Mechzitzchak shitta. Then we have a Lahoyres Nussen, famous Reb Nussen Gestetner, which he writes that you have to have both sides. Why? That means on the elevator itself and on each floor. He says like this. Going into the elevator is going into a beshar. You have to put a mezuzah. Going out from the elevator into the room, you also need a mezuzah, because that's the beshar which goes into the hallway. So basically, you have to have two mezuzahs.
In other words, depending on which floor the elevator's on, it takes on a different purpose. It's all of a sudden you're changing the angle.
Yeah. So that's all the shittas of Amalit in the reasoning of it. But Lamaisa, Miniga Oilam, I wouldn't say the Minig Kol Oilam, but Rav Oilam, Chreide Shehiden will put a mezuzah on the elevator, but they will put each floor a mezuzah. That's the Minig Oilam and going into the elevator. That's the Minig Oilam. But again, however way you're going to do it, you have someone who's going to say that you did it right. And even if you don't put a mezuzah, again, you still have poskim which say, but again, since a mezuzah is a shmira, it is kedai, especially elevators, a mukim skuna, not that mukim skuna, but we had a lot of stories about the elevator, so it's kedai to put lefuchas of the shittas in Mechzitzchak on the elevator going into the hallway. In many goyle b'chreide shehiden, I would say my father has buildings which there's an elevator, there's a mezuzah on the elevator on the floor.
But where's the Pasha? There's no place to put it on the actual elevator.
On the what?
Yeah, sliding doors. Usually it's more practical to put a mezuzah there.
Yeah, but it depends how the sliding doors are. There are mezuzahs over there. The sliding door does not fill up the whole mezuzah, the doorpost. So you could always put it over there. Cars, trucks, yeah, or a person has a tender, has a bus. All of these things is put him in a mezuzah. Again, because it's not also the diras kava, it is to ride, And although it's high, it's a room which is dalat al dalat, and it might have dalat al dalat, it might have it's high, it's sort of tvocham, even though since it is not a diras kava, although you eat there and even the truckers might sleep there, it's not considered a regular dira, and you put them in mezuzah. But if a person
how about an RV?
RV, that's something else, because that's already basically that's called a caravan. Even though it's a caravan which moves, but that's already made to live. People live in such a thing. Nobody lives in a tractor trailer, you know. You sleep there while you drive on a long distance or in your car, but people do not live in such a thing. So that's not called a diras kava. But in an RV, people will live in such a case. They park it, they connect it in a camping area, and they could live over there as long as it's possible. So that's already considered a diras kava, and over there you are machir b'mezuzah. K'mivna lachas kamo v'kamo, if you have a caravan mamash which is settled on the floor, basically, and you connected it with gas, with electric, with sewer, even though it was basically a trailer, today's day you make shuls like this and you make houses like this, that's for sure the mechir mazizah. But even a caravan which is moving, then it is not a problem. It is considered a room, and you should put a mazizah over there. Okay, we'll go next. Okay, so now we'll start with the halacha simareish pai zayin. The Mechaber says a Pesach is nishchai b'mezuzah only if it has shtei mezuzahs and a mashkef. Yeah, has to have 2 doorposts and a mashkef. As Rashi explains it, because it says ich saftem al mezuzahs b'asechu. Chazal say that it's not mezizois, it's a plural, it's lushan rabim. So therefore, you have to have shtei mezuzahs, 2 mezuzahs ben atzad, 1 to your right side, 1 to the left side. Then it's nicker, it's a door, and then 1 on top. If it's not, you don't have doorposts, it is called a pirza. You have a wall which has a pirza. And therefore, the Torah is mechayev in a pirza in a wall which has a hole, the Torah is mechayev in mezuzah. The Torah wants it should be a Pesach. Therefore, it has to have shtei mezuzahs and a mashkef. If you have a room which has 3 walls, and the 4th wall is opened, yeah? So you have, you don't have any mezuzahs on the 2 sides. But you have the end of the wall, yeah? You have the end of the wall. And this is a common question and a common shala which you have, in probably every apartment will have such a scenario. You have a room which does not have a doorpost at all. Not even a post, doesn't have, it is only that, for instance, going in from a foyer to a bigger room, yeah, and the bigger room is, let's say, a 9-foot ceiling, and the lower in the foyer it has an 8-foot ceiling, yeah, and so it gets wider. The room gets wider. So if you're going in the big room, you're going to see a regular, so to speak, a regular ches. Let's call it a ches, but it's made through sofa koisel. That means the wall ends over there. It's not a doorpost. The door ends there. The ceiling ends there. That's called sofa koisel. So this we have a big machlokas of the shoinim if a sofa koisel is mechiv mezuzah or siputim mezuzah. According to the Rosh, the famous Rosh, the Rosh holds that a sofa koisel is, first of all, let's make it clear. According to Rav Poiskim, let me just go back a minute. According to Rav Poiskim, the mezuzah and the mashkev does not need to be from wood and from a matches, from metal. There is one rishon which says has to be from matches or from eights, but Rav Rishonim hold there's no such a thing. And even if it is a doorpost mamash, and the doorpost is through sheetrock, that means you have a wall and it's cut out like a doorpost. So according to Rav Rishonim, it's mechiber mezuzah. That's first of all. We have to know that you don't need, it doesn't have to be specific, a wooden doorpost or other kind. It could be a part of the wall. But now we're talking a stage, second stage. It is the end of the wall, a safa koisel, that makes the doorpost. It is not that you have a full wall and it's cut out exactly a ches, which that's shtei mezuzah and a mashke. We're talking about end of the koisel, and that makes it for mezuzah v'mashke. So we have the shittas harosh, which is shittas harosh holds that safa koisel is b'mechiber mezuzah. And even safa koisel or safa ceiling is mechiber mezuzah. But then we have other poskim, which is the Rasha, which holds safa koisel is potem in a mezuzah. In such a case, lamaise the Taz and Shach paskin like the Rosh. And the B'sioyse, when he explains this whole machloikas, he brings that it looks like that the Rambam is also maskam with the Rosh. And since the Machaber passes like the Rambam, so according to Pashtus, according to the Rambam, according to the Shulchan Aruch, he also holds like the Shach and Taz, and it's mechiber mezuzah. There are some poskim which you want to disagree and say that the Machaber paskins is potter, but akaponam, the Taz and the Shach for sure posking like the Rosh, that you should be machna like the Rosh. Again, you are not going to put a mezuzah with a bracha because you have other shittas which says it's potem and a mezuzah. But we have safa koisel, you are going to put a mezuzah because according to the Rosh, you are b'mechiber mezuzah. Now, sometimes you can have a Rosh koisel on one side. It means the right side you're going to have a Rosh koisel, and the left side, the wall will continue. Yeah, this also is probably you saw in houses. It's a long wall. Yeah, one wall goes all the way further, and the right wall stops somehow and it turns, has a safa koisel, and the same will be a mashke. In such a case, it depends where the Rosh koisel is. Is the Rosh koisel to the right, so the right side has a mashke, then fine, then it's good. Then you put it on the right side. If the right side is the straight wall and the left side has the Rosh koisel, so where the way where you mechiber mezuzah on derech biyoschu on the right side, and since on the right side you don't have a mezuzah, so therefore you are not going to put, you're not mechiv to put a mezuzah. So again, Rosh koisel we have a machloikis, and according to the Rosh you mechiv, according to Rosh not, and we are paskin like the Rosh mechiber mezuzah. But that's only if you have a Rosh koisel which has a mashkoif and a mezuzah lefuchas on the right side. And therefore, if not, then you're going to be you don't put a mezuzah at all. If you have on the right side the mashkoif, the mezuzah, then you are going to put the mezuzah like the Rosh without a bracha. And the same will go also with the ceiling. Let's say you have a Rosh koisel, which is also a common thing. You have a two Rosh koisel, two sides, but the ceiling is flat. It's not an 8 foot or 9 foot, which changes. It's a flat, goes into the other room. So basically, you don't have a mashke. You have like two Rosh koisels, two sides, like two mezuzahs, but you don't have the mashke. So you have two mezuzahs without a mashke. So in such a case, even the Rosh will say it's potem in a mezuzah. Is this halacha clear?
What if it has?
Just speak up a drop.
Yeah. Here you can hear it better now.
Yes.
Okay. What if it has a mashkef, but it's like what's called LVL beams? In other words, it's sometimes when they open a room. So in order to, because in that case it's really supporting the ceiling, but it's a mashkef. In other words, when they'll open it and you have a little bit on this side and a little bit on this side, right? So you have walls, but instead of the ceiling going straight in, it comes down a little bit. But this coming down, it's really a supporting beam, which means it's supporting the tikra. So we said before that if it's supporting the tikra, it's not called a mashkef.
It is straight the whole both.
No, so it's not straight. It comes down a little bit, but the catch is the piece that comes down is it's joists that because they opened the room, they have to put it because they're moving supporting walls. So really, this beam, even though it looks like a mashkef, Like it's not straight through, it comes down, but it's really just supporting the tikkun in that case.
So again, let me ask the question again. I'll explain what my question is. If you have, for instance, a straight wall, a straight ceiling, 2 rooms the same height, but you want to open the wall and you have to leave the beam there, then you're right, it's only l'achzika. But if it comes down, although that coming down, there's also a beam over there, because it cannot come down if you don't have a beam. You have to support it. But that's also a mashka.
Right. So no. My question is dafka. My question is dafka when they put. In other words, it's called the load bearing beam, because what happens is in the wall you have like there's certain amounts of beams going up that have to support the weight. So if you're opening it, you're now moving it. So you have to put a thick beam they put in there, but the purpose of the beam is to support the floors above. That it should support the weight of the floors above. So in this case, it would seem it's only supporting the tikkun. So it's not.
I would say it's only tikkun.
Where I mean, and I know there's other cases. There's wood across there, but it's not load bearing. It's called load bearing. So if it's not load bearing, then fine. Then it's not supporting. Then it's a wall.
So if it's a load bearing which is made specifically to hold the beam, hold the wall, the upper floor, that's called tikkun. What's the difference if you have mezuzahs, which is a chzika tikra, it's potter? If you have a mashka, which is a chzika tikra, it also should be the same thing, and it's potter. Such a case.
Which is interesting, because sometimes in such a case, it could be you'll need to talk to a friend who's an engineer or knows contracting, because you have to know what's this beam. Is it taka a beam that supports it? Doesn't support
but if you don't know, then you put a mezuzah. Exactly. Yeah, if you don't know, you put a mezuzah. We mentioned that you have to have 2 mezuzahs and a mashka. Now, what is if it's laying 2 mezuzahs and mashka is laying? You have such a scenario in the city. You have going down to the lower floor. You have from the outside, let's say from the street. You open 2 like a floor. On the floor, you open 2 metal pieces. You have steps going down. So over here, you have 2 mezuzahs and a mashkef. So this is how you go down. Is that mechiv mezuzah or not? The same will go also. Sometimes you have staircases to go up to the attic, and it's a attic which is basically the attic. You schlep down the steps. You have steps to go up, and you have over there basically 2 mezuzahs and a mashkef. Is according to most poskim, such a case, it's not, since it's laying flatly, totally laying, according to Rav poskim, it's not called a Pesach, it's called a hole. And therefore, it is not mechiv mezuzah. And that never saw in a store that the person should put on that piece a mezuzah. And the same will go also on a attic. I never saw that you should put a mezuzah over there. And that's the meaning of you don't put a mezuzah, although they have some poskim which say, but Rebbe the poskim say, since it's laying, it's not called a Pesach. A Pesach is not laying. When it's slanty, that's already that's a different case. When it's slanty, there are more poskim which say that it is mechiv mezuzah.
But how slanty is slanty?
Again, it has to be some kind of. It's not flat. It is. You have it sometimes when you want to go down, also a staircase. So you have like a budka, like a whole room, and it's a slanty. It's such a, and it's the door is like that. Over here you have more poskim which is mezuzah, because they say that that's called a Pesach. Since it's not lying, it's standing. That's called a Pesach. It's not called a hole. When it's on the floor, that's called a hole. But since when you have it standing, even though it's slanty, some poskim say like this: Lamaisa, you put a mezuzah, but you don't make a bracha again, because other poskim say.
So what's tachlis? What? How do you determine slanty? Just lefi achush?
You see the door is slanty.
Right, but I'm saying there's a lot of different degrees of slanty. It could be something on the floor that's just slightly up, or
no, slightly not. If you see it's a slanty wall. It has to be. If it's not slant, if you cannot see it, that's not considered it's slanty. You mean it's a nice like you put a mezuzah. You know how the mezuzah we're going to speak. The mezuzah like the pshara. So that's such a case, then you put a mezuzah. And even more, there are poskim which say that if you have a mezuzah, which one side, let's say, is 15 feet, and the other side is 8 feet. So the mashkav goes slanty, yeah? Because the left side, it's only 8 feet. The right side is 10 feet or 15 feet and goes slanty. There are poskim which say that it's as if it doesn't have a tirsa pesach and it's not considered a pesach, because if you remember in Hilchas Shabbos and Hilchas Eirven, when it comes to Hilchas Eirven, like a tirsa pesach, it's not considered a tirsa pesach such a case. So therefore, we have to even more. I'll go even more. This is also a thing which is, it's not so common, but you could have it. How do you build a door? You build 2 posts, and then you put the mashkav on top of it. Yeah, that's the way how usually you build it, because that's support. The 2 mezuzahs are also supporting the mashkav. You might have some time which you're going to have 2 mezuzahs, and the mashkav is in the middle. It's not on top of it. That means it's on top, it's flat, but not because the mashkav is on top of it. It's because the mashkav is between the 2 mezuzahs, and it ends together clearly. So over here, some poskim will say that since in Hilchas Eirven, that's not considered a tirsa pesach, as we all know that when we make an erev, the mashkav, the string has to be on top of it, not on the side and not in the between, because a pesach is considered only when you have 2 mashkav and the 2 mezuzahs, the mashkav on top. So in such a case, when the mashkav is in between, it's potem in a mezuzah. Other poskim will say that no, we cannot compare Hilchas Eirven to Hilchas mezuzah. In Hilchas Eirven, you're right, it's not considered tirsa pesach. But the Hilchas mezuzah, it is mechiev. So therefore, again, in such a case, you put a mezuzah, but you don't make a bracha.
So again, that's very common. That's very common.
Not that's so common.
In other words, walls nowadays, the way most walls are built is actually they do the framing. They do all the framing up and down first, and then they put the cross beam. Now, in most cases, they then install a separate door frame. So maybe in this case, it's fine.
And also, you always have a beam on top of the door post. Yeah, there's always have a beam.
Further up, in other words, not directly above, but all the way above, up there's mistama, yeah.
Okay, that's also, as long as it's above. I don't know if it's true, but when I was a child, they told us that if you are in a house which has an earthquake, you should stand below the doorpost, because then has some kind of support. I don't know if it's true, but
right. So it's talking. So in other words, in the framing, there's 2 beams. There's one that goes across directly above the door, sometimes even not, because nowadays dorm frames have their own, and then in between the posts on the very top, it's always laying on top.
So that's the
supports the weight, yeah.
So that would be
so it's this beam, the top.
Yeah,
beam.
Such a case. Yeah. But there are some times if you tampered with the door and you wanted to move something, whatever, then sometimes they're going to put just in between the two befores, they're going to put such a thing. Then in such a case, you're going to put without a bracha.
Right, or there's also in older buildings, that's modern framing. In older buildings, sometimes the beams actually go up through all 3 floors. They have very, very long beams. And in this case, you might not really have something sitting on top.
Yeah. So I'm just bringing it out the attention. There's a lot of scenarios which there's machloikas, and there's a lot of scenarios that you're put mezuzah. So going back to that gentleman who asked the question in the beginning, if you have to make sure to know when you take off a mezuzah, why you have to take it, the answer is because there's a lot of scenarios which you are putting a mezuzah without a bracha because there's machloikas, and if you have a mezuzah which is on a room which is the choladayas, you mechiv mezuzah, a bedroom is choladayas mechiv mezuzah if it's dalat, and you take it and you put it on another doorpost which is sofek mezuzah, and we know you are lowering the condition. That's why the soifram and the boitkim or the shlucham, which go and check mezuzahs, they have to make sure, and they do it usually, to make a note on which mezuzah from which room it comes, to put it back on that area in order not to mix up kedishas ha-mezuzah. a Pesach which doesn't have a Surah Tfuchim. You might have such a thing in people have under the steps. They want to save wasted space. They make a closet over there. But you cannot put a regular door. You put a small door. If it doesn't have Pesach, which is 10 tefachim, which is, again, as we mentioned at the beginning of the shiur today, it's about 35 inches. And it has to have dahlet. If it doesn't have this case, then it's not a Pesach. If it has 10 tefachim, and also the room has 10 tefachim, sometimes the door could be higher and the room is lower because it goes down. The door could be higher because it's schlepped away a little bit and you're going in, but then it goes down. The room is not 10 tefachim, then it's not mechir b'mezuzah. Okay, so now we get to the next question. You have two mezuzahs and you have a kippah on top. Yeah, you have arch. We have this constantly in all fancy houses or modern houses. It has two mezuzahs, and on top it has a keshes.
Yeah, my house is not so fancy and it has arches in it.
Oh, it has arches. Okay,
it's not so
looks
fancy,
like it is.
yeah, it's common.
Okay, it's common. So over here we have, it's a big machloikes, it's a big sigi over here. It's a big machloikes tisha Rashi in the Rambam. And we are talking now, there are two kinds of such arches. There are arches which the whole thing is, from beginning, it turns around. It's like a zero, the whole thing. That means it starts in the bottom. It starts, let's say, it's 3 feet. Then it widens, turns, and then it comes back also. Yeah, it goes like this. That's one way of the keshes. Then we have a keshes, which is more common, which is two mezuzahs, and on top it has a keshes. Yeah, then it has a kippah. So when it comes to, when it's all the way around, we have a big machlokas of the Rashi and Rambam. If it is mechir b'mezuzah, not mechir b'mezuzah, because over here, in such a case, we don't have a mezuzah and a mashka. It's everything is a mashka or everything is a mezuzah. So Rashi will say that if it has a wall on top of the roundness, that's the mashka. In the round, that means the roundness will be the mezuzah, and all the bricks on top of it, that's the mashka. The Rambam holds different like that, but that's not a common thing. And the common thing which we have is a regular mezuzah, two mezuzahs, and it's roundabout. Now, what do you do in such a case? Now, if you have 10 tefachim from the beginning till it starts to get round, yeah. So in such a case, it's mechir b'mezuzah. You have a mezuzah, two mezuzahs, which is the two mezuzah which is straight and it has 10 tefachim. And you have the mashka, which is the mashka which is round. That's the mashka. So that's not a problem. The problem is only if it's less than 10 tefachim. If it's less than 10 tefachim, that means if you have only 7 tefachim, which is straight, and then it turns around. In such a case, we're going to keep the machlokas of, according to Rashi, the round ones is also connected. It's called, according to Rashi, it's mechir b'mezuzah. In such a case, when you don't have 10 tefachim, and even when it's fully round, because the Rashi holds the roundness, it's called is a mezuzah. You don't have a mashkev. I do have a mashkev. The wall on top is a mashkev. The Rambam disagrees. In such a case, you can put a mezuzah without a bracha. But if you have two mezuzahs which are straight up, yeah, fully straight, and only after 10 tefachim stars are getting around, then l'choladai you keep a mezuzah, because then you have two mezuzahs and a mashkev. The only problem goes, where do you put the mezuzah? Where do you put the mezuzah? We could say you put the mezuzah, you measure from the floor till a place which gets smaller than 4 tefachim. That's all the mashkoif. Yeah, that's all you make 2/3 shlish elyon from that side. That means you measure from where it gets very narrow. That's all we think as a mezuzah, and then you put it on the place where it gets round. Yeah, shlish elyon. That's one way. The other way, and this is how we pasken, and this is how we do it. we do not go this way. The way which we just said, that's the Taz. If you learn the Taz over there, Taz goes according to that. But according to most other poskim, and this is how the minig oilam is, if you have 10 tefachim, we only consider 10 tefachim, that is the mezuzah, and from when it's getting ugal, it starts getting round, that's already the mashkuf. So therefore, you make it 2/3 of the mezuzah. So it might be, if you have only 10 tefachim, it might be the mezuzah very low. I have such thing in my house, which the mezuzahs, the straight is 10 tefachim, but if you go 2/3, it is much lower than normal. It looks funny, but that's the way how to put the mezuzah. And people ask, and we have then opportunity to explain them Hilchas mezuzah, how it works. But again, that's the machloikas, where to put it. It's mechibah mezuzah l'choladais. I won't say l'choladais because if it doesn't have doors, then according to the Rambam, it's not mechibah mezuzah. But if it has doors, which some houses will have nice French doors, round ones. So according to the Rambam, it's mechibah mezuzah because it has a door. So we will make the mezuzah like the Rambam holds, that the mezuzah which is straight, that's the mezuzah, and once it gets around, that's the mashkoif, and you put it 2/3 shlisha elyon from when it's still straight. I hope it's clear. If not, someone wants to ask, should ask, because I don't have all the pictures in front of me, but I assume that you understand what's going on. Is it clear? Okay.
Oh, can you say one more time? And the mezuzah only is from under the archway?
That means if the archway, under the archway where it's straight, that has 10 tefachim, then you calculate 2/3 from the on the straight ones. That means you measure shlisha elyon. We put a mezuzah, as we're going to see in Rash Paitez.
7 tefachim.
That means you divide the door, the mezuzah, on 3, and the upper third, that's already where you could put the mezuzah. So in such a case, you're going to measure from where it starts getting round, from there to the down. You can measure how many inches you have, and if it's 10 tefachim, you're going to make sure to put it shlisha elyon from the straight one. And once it start getting round, that's already the mashkoif, and you cannot put there the mezuzah. You put it, so it might be quite low, even lower than your hands, but that's the place where it belongs. The same as in a kitchen. If you have as I mentioned last week, you have a kitchen which has the right side of the post. It's a part is the cabinet, and then it goes, it has like an L shape, and that part which the cabinet is 10 tefachim, you put it on the cabinet. It's very low, but again, that's the mukama putting the mezuzah. So whenever you have it straight and you round it up, then you're going to put it on shlisha elyon from the mezuzah post where it's straight.
Question is, maybe if you have a choice, if to do it on the right side or on the cabinet, so then why can't you just do it on the right side where it's a normal doorpost? Because like what I brought up in the beginning about the kitchen.
No.
That half the kitchen.
Because 10 tefachim, the kitchen wall is not a real wall, because it doesn't go all the way till down. A mezuzah has to go down from top to the bottom. Has to be
one side goes all the way.
The left side, but on the right side you have a kitchen cabinet, like an L. Again, this is the cabinet.
But how do you know if it's the right side or the left side?
This we're going to come to the halacha of yemin hanechnas. That's a different. We're going to come to that. But if that is considered the right side, because let's say all of the ways how you go into the kitchen is through that room, so therefore that's the yemin hanechnas. This you need to have the klulam of where to put it, what's considered the right, the left. But let's assume we know already that that's the right side. Just because it's very low, that's not a sibba of not putting the mezuzah.
I hear you. Okay.
Okay, what else do we have on the Simon? This Simon have the Remo. That the Remo says that Nispashet b'Medinas Aili, and he cries against it, that people have only one mezuzah. today's day, we have also some kind of modern or even not from a people, which they buy a mezuzah, but they have only a mezuzah on the front doorpost, which is not correct. The Remu says, they have no reason, they have no right just not to ignore this thing. You have to make sure that you putting it in. Every room is mechiber mezuzah. Mezuzah is by seich. One of the things which we say is mezuzah means a lot of doorposts. And even one room which has 2 doors also need 2 mezuzahs. And
what was the clothing that the Rebbe set out for Mifsah Mezuzah?
What?
What was the clothing that the Rebbe set out for Mifsah Mezuzah?
I can't hear you.
For Mifsah Mezuzah, did the Rebbe give some clothing? When the Rebbe said to put up mezuzah, that it should be on every single door or only on the front door?
Nachman, the Rebbe, you know what the Rebbe once said? Ich will nicht sagen, etwas gegen Shulchan. So how could the Rebbe say you should put it only in the front door?
No, not only should put it, because I remember the Rebbe said that if whoever doesn't want to buy a mezuzah will pay for the mezuzah.
Okay.
When it comes to Dini Mamas, I'm not sure if the Rebbe was saying that Lubavitch is going to pay for everyone to put 50 mezuzahs in their house.
You know that, or you're asking?
I'm asking. I saw a video. The Rebbe said that people already came to him and that whoever doesn't have money to put a mezuzah will pay for the mezuzah. But I'm asking you that when it comes to Dini Mamas, so things weren't flying busy.
If you're mechiv mezuzah, what's the difference in the front door or the second door? If the Remu says,
I am going to help everyone put a mezuzah, it meant on the front door, or it meant takament, we're going to go through everyone's house.
No, helping everybody should have mezuzahs where you need to have a mezuzah. Where you need. Now, if you're going to say you could rely on the doors, in Bamifta mezuzah, you could rely on doors which some poiskim will hold, it's not mechiber mezuzah. This could be because you have poiskim, but over here the Remu says, Va'ayin lehem, look the lushan. Look the Va'ayin lehem al-mashi is moichi. There's the lotion of the Remu. They have no, they don't have on what to be based. So again, if it's mechiber,
so that's a big, it's a big
Yes.
issue. It's a big
What?
issue because it's a big issue because tachlis, for the most part, that I'm aware of, when people do mivtza mezuzah and they convince somebody to put a mezuzah on their house, they're not going through their whole house and putting 25, 30 mezuzahs. They probably don't have the funding for that either. But they're convincing somebody to put up 1 mezuzah. So the question is it better not to put up any mezuzah? At least the guy
no.
putting up 1 mezuzah.
So
I think that's the cheshbon that people that because you're not going to convince them. First of all, you don't have the budget for it, and they're not going to spend $500 or $700 or whatever.
But that's not a heter. That means it's not a. It's a pator for you. If they won't put, then at least
right. So it's like for example that same Jew has a chiyuv to put on tefillin every day. But the fact that he's putting it on, that I'm putting it on him this once and he's not putting it on tomorrow, fine, but at least he put on today.
Exactly. The focus now. The focus, this room has mechiber mezuzah. And we see there's such a minute. The Remu says, but at least we see such a thing. So therefore, if somebody doesn't want to pay, doesn't want to pay. Hey, again, what could you do? But I always see, when you convince them that it's a shmira on your house, it's a shmira against fires, against thieves, against all those things, usually they will put on mezuzah because if they installed an IDT alarm system, which will cost you $2,000, they will spend for a mezuzah if you can convince him. But again, if you can't, you can't. But it's not a pshat that they're not mechiv. Like you just said, the mechiv to put on tefillin every day. If you can't, you can't. So if this person has the budget, so he should help other people with mezuzahs. And then Moses says, "Kol mi shenug yiras shemaim belivoy, v'roitze leishev betach memoire riches ruas." Even more, if you explained it, if you don't want to have any rich ruah, if you want to have all those things, yaseh mezuzahs l'chol pesuchah. And that's the Remu just says Yiras Shamayim is sacken ba'is b'chol pesuchah. But we bring down over there the B'siyosef brings down the Maram Rottenberg. He brings down a story. The Ram Rottenberg was trying to sleep in one of his rooms, maybe his office or whatever, in one of his rooms, and he couldn't sleep. He had the riach ru. He couldn't, he couldn't fall asleep. So then he realizes that there wasn't a mezuzah. So the Maram Rottenberg writes, anybody who has Yiras Shamayim and he wants to be calm from all this, the devils with the riach ruas, all these things. And in his Moisef, that we see that since we see the poskim say, which we're going to see further down, that if you have a post which is wide, you put it bepesach hasomach bechitz. Why? Because we wanted it should be, everything should be a part of the shmira, and also because we want the taika when you come, since a mezuzah is, you should remember once you come and you go out, you should remember ahavas Hashem et yichud Hashem. So therefore, that's why you put it right in the beginning of the door. So therefore, we see that it's a gewaldige Indian that you should have a mezuzah on all the doors. You should be able to be calm. And when you talk this way to a fraya, for these things, believe me, you know, they're going to put. It's interesting that they're right. They bring down that the Rabbi Tam had 40 mezuzahs on his house. So the post can bring it down as a big thing. You know, he had 40 mezuzahs. By the way, probably my house also has 40 mezuzahs.
Yeah, but for those times, Mistama, that was a big house. Nowadays, like 40 mezuzahs.
Yeah, nowadays, now there's a lot of doors with a lot of rooms. Yeah.
Are there priorities?
What?
Yeah. Are there priorities? Like some people, when you go from a psalm, they want it on their bedroom, they want it on this. Is there, if there are many rooms that are mechuyev mezuzah, but if they're going to put on a few of them, which ones are like, some people prefer, they want to put on the front door, and they want to put it on where they sleep.
Okay. Now, the front door is a place which is mechuyev challah, because even if it doesn't have a big foyer, let's assume it's a base shah, dus mechuyev mezuzah, and a bedroom is for sure mechuyev mezuzah. Yes, any door, any room which is dalat al dalat and has a regular doorpost with a door, that's priority. If it doesn't have a door, it's number 2, because after all, we have a Rama which says it's potter. Now, if the person wants to buy 10 mezuzahs only, so for sure you should prioritize the rooms which is for sure mechuyev mezuzah, which has, as we mentioned, all the halachas. It has a door which is straight, has the room is dalat al dalat, and it's a straight post. All these things. It's not an arch, you know, which is all these things you have to prioritize. Yes, if you have a budget that you only want. A bedroom is usually 100% mechuyev mezuzah challah, because a bedroom is dalat al dalat, and a bedroom has a door, and a bedroom has a straight door. So usually it's mechuyev mezuzah. No, he wants to put rather there than a other room which doesn't have a door. Yes, that's for sure. Kedai prioritize.
In other words, the room that you would put, and if you were putting it by itself, you would make a bracha. So that's
you make a bracha, exactly. Any room which you will put by yourself, you make a bracha. That's the priority. Then you put on rooms which is according to moist poiskum mechuyev mezuzah, because the Rambam, which says that a post which doesn't have a door, he's not a majority, he's in the minority. So that's number 2. Then you have places which is Ksafa Koisel is number 3, which you have Taki Darash, but other poskim do not agree with it. Then you have rooms which is Bechal Asufah gives mechuyev mezuzah. You want to put because it's a shmira. That's number 3. Number 4, again, you got to prioritize. If the person doesn't want to spend that much money, yes, you should make the priority which one is kedai, which one not. Any more questions? Okay, so now we'll go to Simon Reish Paites. Okay, Reish Paites, the Mechaba says, when you come to post the mezuzah, you put it into a shefefere shalkona. You don't leave it to the mezuzah itself. You put it into a holder, and you are kavaya that into the place. You make a bracha. And if you are kavaya a few mezuzahs, then you make one bracha, and you don't make extra brachas. Kemiven, if you're mechabat a couple of people to put the mezuzah, China Yidden, or you want to have family members, then of course you are going to they're going to make a bracha on each mezuzah if it's a room which is mechuyev mezuzah. Only when you put all the mezuzahs, that's something. But if you don't, if other people are making it, then you make one bracha. They make everybody. You make only one bracha. Okay. First of all, I just want to clarify a halacha which people ask constantly. You are permitted to put a mezuzah by night. It's not, you don't have to do it at dawning. It's not like some other things which you have has to be by yom. You could put a mezuzah by night. That's number one. When do you put the mezuzah? When you put the mezuzah is also big machlokas. Some poskim will say that you put the mezuzah. We have to remember we talk now when you buy a house, because if you don't buy a house, except if you're in Eretz Yisrael, that would be the same machlokas. But if you buy a house in Chisloretz, so you put your mezuzah right away. It's not like a soicher, you have 30 days. So when is it considered that you have to put in a mezuzah only when you move in? So what is considered moving in order that we should say that you are basically moved in and you mechiber mezuzah? So some person will say, once you put in your chafaitzim, that's considered you moved in and you mechiber mezuzah. But the Magen Avraham writes in the Siman test that you only mechiber mezuzah only when you are living there b'poel. So therefore, I always advise, people like to put in their stuff on a good day, like Tuesday or the Erev Shabbos or the, Zman Masigel, but he's not planning to live there, move in only a day or 3 or a week afterwards. So I always say, it's your house, you want to make a bracha, a choladayas, you should put the mezuzah only when the day which you feel you're going to sleep there. That means once you have the mind that now you're moving in, then you put the mezuzah. Now, even though it happened to be that last minute after you decide at night it comes, you see that you're not prepared, you're going to go to a hotel or to your in-laws or whatever. But once you decided that I'm going to move into this apartment, I'm going to stay, and that's considered moving according to Koladais, according to Magen Avraham, and therefore that only then you should make a mezuzah, put the mezuzah, because if you put it earlier, you're going to have a problem of a bracha. Because according to Magen Avraham, it's a bracha levatola. You shouldn't make a bracha. So some people will put it there and put it without a bracha. You can do that and take it off and be boidik, but you don't need to put it only when you decide to be there. It's a common question, which if you don't get every day, you get it once a week. It's such a question. When do I start? When is considered moving in? A child cannot put on a mezuzah. A court cannot put a mezuzah. Women can put a mezuzah. Let me make it clear. Women could. There's some misconception that that women should not put a mezuzah. According to the halacha, is you could a child not, a goy not, a painter not, but a lady could put a mezuzah. If a child put on a mezuzah, you should take it off, and you should put it again, because his putting it's not considered correctly. You should put it on right away, because every minute is a chiv mezuzah. It's g'day, if you can, you should put on at least one mezuzah. Mitzvah bo yosim b'shlichoi. You want to be mechabat other rabbanim, it's g'day, you should do this. At least one mezuzah you should do yourself, because it's your mitzvah. You should put the first mezuzah in the outdoors, because once you walk into the house, I'm a vina la mitzvah. Since that room is bechiva mezuzah, so because sometimes why I'm stressing it, because sometimes people want to be mechabad darov, and you take him into the dining room. You should first put on the mezuzah outside in the front door, because I'm a vina la mitzvah. Since it's bechiva mezuzah, put on first the outdoor doors, and then that's what you should do. Then you could be mechabat your parents or your rov on the dining room and of that room. Before you kivay mezuzah, the Mechaber says you make a bracha chekudushunim v'mitzvos v'sivunim lekivay mezuzah, and you have to make it kemivn oivel asiyusam. That means before you put in the screw, you can put it on the wall, but before you're putting on the screw, then you should make the bracha. And if you put it with tape, then don't put it on the wall at all, because once you put it on, you put it on. By the way, it's kedai, it should be with screws better than the tape, because tape is not 100% nikva, and some person will say he wants there should be a kvias mamash, like with screws with nails. So if you can use screws and nails, some person will say it's no difference, you could put also with tape, and at least where you can't, a metal door or whatever you can, then you could put it with tape. If a person put on the mezuzah and forgot to make a bracha, there's a big machloikas.
By the one of the things that also that's a possibility is because I have certain places that you can't put nails into, is that you take you glue a piece of wood on there, and then that's part of the thing, and then you screw it into the.
Yeah, that's good, because that's part of the mashkin. That becomes part of the mashkin. Yes.
So like this, you avoid with metal or brick or things like this. So it's a way to do it. You put the wood on there, and then you screw into the wood like this. Using screws better.
Correct. Very smart. Very smart. Yeah. By the way, one thing which is kedai to know: sometimes you have bricks, a brick mashkif, and you are in a way in a place which you live around non-Jews. And you have this constant problem that they rip off the mezuzah, because since they see something over there, they rip it off and throw it in the garbage. That doesn't make you potter mezuzah. Then you got to make a hole, drill a hole into the brick, and put in the mezuzah inside, and then you cover it again. It shouldn't be seeable, but it's still mechiba mezuzah. There are a lot of apartment buildings which Yidden own and Yidden live there, and they don't realize that. They put in it's Bed-Stuy, and they tear it off. So they stop. Okay, I'm not going to put a mezuzah. It's become a bizoin. No, you make a hole, and you put it inside, and then you cover it up. It should be, even if you don't see it, at least you have a mezuzah over there.
They have also now, they have very, very strong, especially for this, they have covers that, like, once it's in, it's very, very hard to just take off, and especially made like this, that it's hard to take off.
Where is the discussion? Where?
What did you say?
Which doorway? I'm sorry, I missed.
Like on the outside by the street, where somebody from the street can come and rip your mezuzah off or knock it down or something like this.
You mean of the apartment building? A lot of Yiddish apartment buildings, they don't put it on the front door because they also have guy in the building. That's
yeah,
what I mean.
That's not a heter.
Yeah.
It's a heter. So by shal shitzu, we spoke already about that. Yeah. And I don't see, there's not a way, a reason not to put. A person put on the mezuzah forgot to make a bracha is a migi b'chloikes achroinam. If it is like a bracha amatalas that you can still make a bracha afterwards, or if it's like shchita, once you made the bracha and you shecht it already, then it's gone, it's over, you finished it. And so therefore, in such a case, you are not going to make a bracha, because some poskim say that you shouldn't make a bracha. So if you want, take it off and give it a check. And when we put it up again, then you can make a bracha. There's a big machloikas if I send someone else to put a mezuzah on my doors. For instance, if I give it for a shiny Yid, as we mentioned before, you give it for your parents, should put on the mezuzah. Do you make a bracha, like the Mechaber says, the kvoya mezuzah, or you make the bracha al kvis mezuzah? Because the idea, the Das Rambam, which the Rambam says, any time when you make the bracha yourself, you say likvoya, livdus saben. For instance, Bapidin Ben. And if you don't make if you only have a shliach, you make a bracha al pinyan aben. So the Rambam, according to the Rambam, you'll make a bracha al kviyas mezuzah. Because only when the balabas makes the bracha, then he makes likvoy mezuzah. And this is a lot of Rishonim hold like this. But lamaisa, some points can say that you make the bracha likvoy mezuzah, and we see from the poskim not bringing up this whole subject that they hold also that basically you make the bracha al likvoy mezuzah, and lamaisa that's the minig b'poil. You never heard that you should say for a rov which comes to put a mezuzah, or for your parents or a chaver, that you should make a different bracha than the balabos. So therefore, the minig is like this, that you make the bracha likvoy mezuzah in any case. Okay. Next, a mezuzah when you take off is if you take it off and you put it, you didn't have haskadas, you're going to put it back the same day. We mentioned already that you don't make a bracha. If it have haskadas, that means it went through a night, then you make a bracha. So therefore, whenever you want to take off a mezuzah and put it back with a bracha, with a chiyuv, you should have it one night overnight. That then you can make a bracha. It's mechiber mezuzah every minute, correct? Mechiber mezuzah every minute. Since you took it off in order to check it, so you don't have to rush the sofer to finish it, and you can make a bracha the next day. If you have a mezuzah which fell down, fell off the. We know the big machloekes apoiskim. If a person has a talis, and it's when you take off a talis, the Alter Rebbe says, "Yeah, Beis v'giv shuas." You remember, Beis v'giv shuas. You still have it's not has chadas. You don't make a bracha again. But if the talis fell off, we have a big machloekes achronim. The Alter Rebbe and most of the chronim will pasken that you make a bracha. And this is how we pasken. You make a bengen bracha. There are other poskim who say no, you don't make a bracha because over there. The Marshag, for instance, says you don't make a bracha. He has a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is also because you still have a talaskotna yourself, so you still have the bracha. It's not hezek das fully. Other poskim say, but the talaskotna is a different mitzvah. We paskin, we put it with the mezuzah. When it comes to, batalas. When it comes to mezuzah, is according to most poskim, is you have to make a bracha again. But if a person is mamash makpat even by talas, then he should make a bracha by mezuzah also. But over here, there's more reason by mezuzah that you should make a bracha, and this is how we are going to do. It's basically according to Alter Rebbe, if matalas you make a bracha. You have a mezuzah which was loose, it fell down, or sometimes it falls out. The mezuzah itself falls out from the holder. Then when you put it back, you make a regular bracha because there was, it wasn't on the door, and that's called heschadas.
So when you take it off to check,
yes, yeah,
you have to make a bracha when you put it back on.
Oh, so it depends if you have heschadas or not. If you and you put it back in the same day, you take self and say, if I want to have it back today, then you don't make a bracha again. But if it goes through a night, so therefore, then that's considered heschadas, and you make a bracha.
So now,
what?
If you're going to do it, like you said, the best way, we told at the beginning of the shiur, the best way is to do it in 2 times. So I'm going to, let's say, do everything minus 1 mezuzah, let's say, okay? So then I put it back and I make 1 bracha and I have in mind whatever mezuzahs I put on that day. And then the next day when I take off again, I make again a bracha and have in mind the other mezuzahs of day 2.
If it goes through a night, exactly. Yeah.
It's definitely going to go through a night. Like I said, it's going to go through a few nights.
Okay, so yes, you make a bracha. Exactly.
Okay.
Now, all what we said is when you put back the same mezuzah. If you are changing mezuzahs to different mezuzahs, the holidays you're going to make a bracha, even the same day. If you take off my old mezuzahs, you want to put in a new mezuzahs, which was never on the house, of course,
Right.
you make a bracha, but that's a different. It's as if you take off a talis, you're putting on a new talis, yeah,
Right.
and a different talis. Of course, you make a bracha. There's no question. We're talking about if you're putting on the same mezuzah regarding if you make a bracha. Okay, so Mechaber Sibai says, where's the mukim kvis mezuzah? Betoich chalala Pesach has to be betoich in the chalala Pesach. That's one Tanai. Betefach hasumach lachitz. It should be on the tefach, which is closer to the chitz, because you could have mashkos, which could be a feet or two, especially in the old houses, which you had big mashkos. But if you put it, the imshin is with the machaber, if you made a change and you put narbe betefach v'sechumas lachitz, it's not ma'akev. That means that's the halacha where you should put it likitchila, but it has to be b'mezuzah atzman. Where should it be? Again, zog the mechaber, a third thing. The tchila shlishu elyon has to be in the beginning of shlishu elyon.
By lechutz meaning derech yitziyasa, yeah.
Bechutz means no.
Derech yitziyasa, like towards the out.
The closer when it's the closer, right in the doorpost, in the beginning of the doorpost. That means when you're coming into your house onto a room, the outside,
meaning on the side of the knisa.
The side of the knisa, yeah, the side of the knisa. Yeah. The side of the outside, but when you're going in, that means when you're coming out from the street, going into your front door, you make sure you put it right away. The earlier possible. Now, if you could have a wide doorpost, you put it in the beginning, right? The closest to the outdoors, bekitzer. Let's make it clear. So that's regarding
meaning whatever side, if the mezuzah is on whatever side the mezuzah is on is the right side, you put it on that right side closest.
Yes,
to
closer to yourself. Exactly. That's one thing. That's the gaba that way. Then the height to the mechaber has to be the tchilas shlishu elyon, the beginning of a shlishu elyon. If you put it higher than tchilas shlishu elyon, it's also fine, but has to be away from the mashkele tefach. So again, the kitchila should be right away. You take a measuring stick. If you have 12 feet, you put it after 8 feet. That's the beginning. You could put it higher if you want for whatever reason, but it has to be a tefach. It cannot be right away all the way till the mashke. And you have the fourth thing which the Mechaber says, which everything has a halachas. The fourth thing has to be yemin hanechnes, on the right side of where you're going into that room. And if it's your iteriyad oilo, it's no different if it's a iteriyad, or that means if you are a lefty or not, because I would have said that maybe since it says mezuzahs by seichu, derech bioschu. So a lefty first puts in the left feet. I would say derech bioschu should be on the left side. No, it goes according to the riba de alma. It doesn't go according to you, and you make it always on the right side, even though if you are a lefty. It goes, and also it has to do with the bias. It doesn't have to do with your person. And even if the person is a lefty, you put it on the right side. If you put it on the left side, very important halacha. If there's a clear cut that you have to put it on the right side, and you put it on the left side, so then it's possible. It's discussion. It's possible. If you put it not on the correct side, it's possible. That's the mechaber. So let's go through.
What if it's too low? Is it possible?
It's what?
What if it's too low? It's not. It's on the doorpost. It's not 2/3.
Okay.
Because we had a shar that the mashkef was on one place, and then we needed to remove the mashkef so trucks should get through the Pesach, and the mashkef became much higher. So it's still kosher, or we have to move the mezuzah?
Yeah, the mashkef is. Oh, we're gonna get to that when you have a real high mashkef, where you put it. We're gonna get to that. It is a big machloikas And we're going to come to that because over here comes in also we have to speak a little bit of our minig too. But if you want, we can start that way. It's a big machloikas when it's very high. In today's day, we have some houses which have 10-foot doorposts, or even more, like you said, warehouses which have 25-foot doors. You know, where do you put it? Now, according to the Tirzuaf, you're going to put it. The Shach will also hold like that. You're going to put it against your shoulders. That means if it's very high, you put it against the shoulders. Even though now it's not going to be B'tchilas Shlisha Elyon, it's way below. But since it's very high, the doorpost, and it's not a regular doorpost, so therefore you put it shoulder height. And this is how most of the world will put such things. Whenever they were going to have very high doors, most of the people will go according to the Shach and the Taz, which hold that you should put it like you have it, like the shoulders. But there are some poskim which say no, it's always Tchilas Shlisha Elyon. In such a case, you're going to put it even higher. The Taz brings down a very nice raya that you put it by shoulder height. It says, the posik says, Lebenyunum Umar, Ebain Keseichen Shuchain. Yeah. So we have the posik Lebenyunum Umar in Parshas where Moshe Rabbeinu gave a bracha for Biyuman, and it says Ebain Keseichen Shuchain to teach us that when is it a shirus that goes of the Besamikdash, whatever. So that means that Ebain Keseichen Shuchain, that means if you want to have a shirus Ashchina, you should have a Ebain Keseichen. This is how he brings a smach to that where you put it. But there are poskim which say that you put it always Shlisha Elyon. And this is how the Rebbe Rashab, the Rebbe Shmusad used to do it. When it was very high, he used to put it all the way on top. Although maybe he couldn't even reach the mezuzah. But he put it that way. I think, let me just look it over. Maybe a Pikabola, it's like that. Yeah, it's a Pia Rizal. Pia Rizal, Birki Yosef brings down a Rizal that you should always put it Tchilas Shlisha Elyon. Therefore, even when it's very high, you put it very high. And this is how the Rebbe Rashab puts it. This is how in Minik Chabad is. When it's very high, you don't calculate bank seifef like most of the people will do. We're going to calculate how much high it is. So in your case, where did you put the mezuzah? What you said before?
It's still down. I have to move it to the right place all the way up. On that's what I was planning.
So where is it now? Now it's by seifef? It's according to your shoulders? Or
now it's off. I took it up. I have to put it back.
So again, what do you say?
I took it off the wall to put. I took it off the wall to put it back on. I didn't put it back yet, but I was planning to take a ladder and put it all the way up.
Okay, this is how you do it. Third from that's Minik Chabad according to the Rebbe Rashab.
Yeah, it's interesting. The last time we were talking about how the Rebbe kissed the mezuzah, and if you remember, it would always be reaching up. It was I think even maybe a little bit higher than his head. By in the doorways in 770, it would be reaching always like this, like pretty height. So I imagine it's also in 770 was like
this
that.
problem is higher. That's why, yeah. That's a Minik Chabad. That's our meaning. There's other people also, the Kabbalisten, all the people who go Kabbalah will do that because that's the Minik which the Rizal brings down in Talmud and Mitzvahs, what you should do.
I think I saw that in some 70 and places like that, the mezuzah is quite low.
Who's talking?
And people told me because the children they should be able. In 70, I think it's lower.
Hello.
And in many other Chabad places, the mezuzahs are put lower, and I heard people say because children should be able to reach it, so they put it lower. Is there such a Minik Chabad of putting it lower?
Again, I mentioned Minik Rashab. Who is Minik Chabad if not the Rebbe's?
But
the Shlichei Chabad
Last time I was in 770, I didn't check the exact height of the mezuzahs, but I think it's pretty low there.
I honestly don't remember how it was last time I was in 770, but I just remember when the Rebbe would kiss the mezuzah, he would generally be reaching up, like even a little bit higher than his head. Right? That's so back then, at least by the Rebbe, I don't know if all the doorways, but at least a lot of the doorways were like that, because I very distinctly remember the Rebbe would reach up to kiss the mezuzah.
Yeah.
Maybe they've moved them since or whatever. That I don't know, but.
Yeah. Can I ask? Maybe you'll talk about it. It's very common. A lot of times
why
the
can't
door.
We see you? Rabbi, why can't we see you? Why can't we see you?
You know what? I don't know how to. I'm on my iPhone and I can't figure it out. You see me now?
No.
I see myself, but I don't see anybody else.
Are you over 40?
Yes.
They'll give it for a child of 10 years old. He'll show you exactly how to do that.
That is true. But somehow.
Okay.
I don't know. I lost it, but you hear me at least. Okay. So
yes.
What happens very often is you have the door, the outside door. It closes flat to the mezuzah, so you can't put the mezuzah inside because the door will break it. So I've seen people, and you put it on, not on the inside, but you put it on the outside, right next to that place where you would put it. Is that okay?
So you talk, let's say, some people have doors which is glass.
Or not after glass, even if it's a regular door, but the way the door closes, there's no added mezuzah that protrudes further. So you can't put the mezuzah right in front of the door.
Yeah. So in such a case, it's like this. Yeah, such a case, it is like, we'll come there a little bit more in detail. This probably that will be already the next sheet. But in such a case, the best option is, we have to understand one thing. When you camp, you have a mashke, a mezuzahs, and you put it outside on the side, which some people will do, it's possible. It's not a mezuzah. But some people, like sometimes your case, which you just mentioned, or people have glass mezuzahs, glass doors, which basically it closes flat, and it's impossible to put a mezuzah. That's the way to do it. On the outside, right next to the door, on the wall, so to speak. But if it's
not possible, and then it would not be possible. And if you do that, it's not possible.
You don't have an option. The person can talk about.
Yeah.
Okay. Only in such a case. When you have a regular door post, you can put it there, it's possible. So therefore, there is another option too, and some people will do it. Frimmer people, I mean, they will add on, if you don't have a pashka, a tiny piece of metal, or it should be, that means to extend the mashkoif, and they can put it over there. This is also one option. But if it's a brick wall, a brick mashkoif, or a wooden wall, I would say the most like a thing in such a case is to take a drill and make a hole and put it inside. Because after all, to put it outside on the wall is up the effort. And in some cases, as I mentioned, it will be possible. So therefore, if you could make a hole in the doorpost itself, put the mezuzah inside, within the first, right at the beginning, because lechitz is also means that they should put it in all the way 12 inches inside. So if you can put it there, that would be the ideal thing. And there are some people which are makbet in such a case, if it is brick or if it's wood, that they should do it in this way. But if you have a glass...
What was the shayla? What was the case? But why can't you put it on the...
The case is sometimes that you have the door closes flat with the wall and the whole doorpost gets blocked by the door. So there's no way how to put a mezuzah over there. So in such a case...
Unless you put it inside the door. Unless you put it inside the door, so it's not on the outside.
Yeah, but outside, why inside is better than outside?
No, I'm saying if you can't put it, you can't put it
it's not a
in the mezuzah because the door will close. But if you go a little further in, so then it would not be on the outside of the door; it would be on the inside of the door, but it would be in the doorpost.
Why? Why will it be in the doorpost?
In other words, he's saying that you're putting it still. In other words, let's say the chalal goes on further, but there's
Correct.
no chalal samuch lachutz. But there is chalal that's samuch lepnim.
That's right.
Then of course it's rather to put it inside on the Pesach, on the Al-Halal Pesach, than put it outside on the wall, of course.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I thought it's like
You're talking about the door takes up the entire halal.
of the whole
Yeah,
thing,
that's-
and you don't have any post.
Sometimes it's like that, but sometimes you have an opportunity to put it inside on the inner side of the door, on the mezuzah, on the chalo, and you just don't see it from the outside,
Of
but
course,
it's there.
even if you don't see it, it's better to be halacha than be. I had some questions, sometimes the questions like this, and because inside once you won't, it's not easy to kiss because the door opens inside. Whatever it was a way that you couldn't kiss the mezuzah because outside there's no post, inside there's a post, but the door blocks it. So in order to kiss the mezuzah, you have to go around the door and go back and kiss it. So nobody's going to do that. So nobody kisses it. So I answered him, don't kiss it, but at least you have a mezuzah on the corner.
Right. This is the same question as shlish elyon. If your shlish elyon is 20 feet up, you're not going to go on a ladder and kiss it every time.
Exactly. By the way, if you put it up, shlish elyon, when it's high or not, it's a machlokas from Babel in Yerushalmi. And there's a machlokas if the Yerushalmi says buying Saifov, it's a machlokas if Babel disagrees or not. The Rizal goes always shlish elyon. So, but you're right. You have a nice tishtel.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to take a ladder, but still, it's on the place where it belongs, and we got to do the right thing, not necessarily that a play thing where you could do what. If you put it lower than the shlish elyon in a regular door, if you put it lower than the shlish elyon, it's possible. You have to take it off and put it up on top. Only in such a case when it's too high, and according to the Rizal and the Bavli, it's less than shlish elyon, but it's still by Saifa, then it's kosher. But if you have a regular doorpost and you put it less than shlish elyon, it's possible. So you got to make sure. This is also the thing which people don't realize. You got to make sure it is where it is. Now, leketchila, it should be the beginning. Afterwards, it's a b'di'evet. It's still a b'di'evet. It's not a leketchila. When you don't have a tefach, it's also possible in the top. So again, you have to go according to the books. Take a tape measure, especially the people who go around, a lot of shluchim go around being put on mezuzahs, they should have the tools and the way how to make sure that when they put miftzah mezuzah, it should be 100% correctly. Because there's a lot of stories which the Rebbe said you should check the mezuzah, and they checked again, and everything was fine. There was mehidar, there was no tagim, which was missing. Everything was fine, and they came to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe said, check the mezuzah again. Something was wrong. And then they realized that the mezuzah basically, they had a kosher mezuzah, but it wasn't on the right place. Or it was turned around. A Rebbe's ate. The Rebbe saw that something is a problem. If the Rebbe says, look, check the mezuzah, you got to check the mezuzah. So it's the interesting story, by the way, but Mama Mizgid doesn't come in over here, but it's a very interesting story since it has to do with my Rebbe, Rafo-Rafzna, which I'm a Talmud. The Rebbe once said for a person which had a problem, he should check the mezuzah. And that guy bought mezuzahs behidder gummer, tachlas hidder. And it was nice, and they sent it to a Rav to check, a Sofer to check. It says, there's no problem at all, beautiful. Send it to a second Sofer, beautiful. So I wrote for the Rebbe, we checked it, and everything is fine. So then the Rebbe wrote back, check it again. Checked it again. They went to a bigger Sofer, a bigger Rav. They didn't find anything. And the Rebbe said 3 times, check the mezuzah. There's a problem over there. Still, he decided he went to Rafo-Rafzna. Rafo-Rafzna was the Rebbe, the Poisigador Bachlal, but in Safras, he was he's the Rebbe of all the Safran. He was the first person which made the Beis Haruah for Safras Bachlal. All the Sofrim al Talmidim of him or his Talmidim. And he sat and looked it through and read it through and looked all the oases and says, it's so beautiful that I don't see any problems with it. And when he wrote to the Rebbe, again, the Rebbe said you should check the mezuzah again. The Rebbe says, if the Rebbe writes, we're going to sit on it. So he sat on it, and then he said they should call over the sofer. He called over the sofer, and he asked him, tell me, do you go in mikveh before you ride the Shem Hashem? It's not a chiyuv, by the way, to go every time before Shem Hashem, but there are some soifrim, when you pay extra money, they go before they ride the Shem Hashem, they go tefillah. So he says, yes, before I rode Hashem, I went in tefillah. So I was asked, wait a minute, you are living in that town. You have a mikveh over there, which is open all day. And you have a challah mikveh. I don't think you have a mikveh over there. You have a mikveh 10 minutes away. So every time before you rode Hashem, you went to the mikveh. It says, yes, but I didn't do it every time for Rod Hashem. I rode the whole mezuzah, and I left out the Shem Hashem. And then I went to mikveh, and I toiled myself, and I wrote all the Shem Hashems. So that's why, yes, I went to mezuzah all day. Because he was afraid that Rav was going to ask him, they paid you to go for Shem Hashem, and you didn't go. He says, yeah, I went. The Rav says, the mezuzah is possible. Anybody knows why the mezuzah is possible?
It's not considered.
It wasn't written in order.
It's not considered. Mezuzah and tefillin has to be considered. Sefer Torah doesn't, Megillah doesn't, but that tefillin and mezuzah has to be considered. So this was possible. So all the Sofrim and all the Rabbonim said it's okay, but there's a Yid in Crown Heights, the Tzaddik Adar, which says, I'm sorry, it's possible. I don't know what way it went. Check it out and sit on it, and you're going to find it's possible. So that's a cute story. And just I just heard from Raboz's grandson, which he's also a big poisig in mezuzahs, and he told me also a story that he was looking at a mezuzah which he didn't see any psil, but then he saw it's too nice, and then he realized it was a printed mezuzah. So again, when we check for mezuzahs, check mezuzah, mifta mezuzah, we have to check where it is, how it was written, and if it's too nice and all the letters look the same, then you know there's a problem. Okay,
it's a pella that a cipher that's a prestigious cipher should make a toss is such a simple thing.
Yes, yeah, but it could be that he didn't learn the halachas. He only has a nice handwriting, and he learned. Yeah. He's a graphic artist. So he's a graphic artist. You know, this is what happens.
Wow.
Okay, so let's begin Chalal Pesach. So we mentioned already what we said before, that if you don't have a post, it has to be in the Chalal Pesach. Sometimes you're going to have a Chalal Pesach, which you have two Chalal Pesachs. That means I saw it in the shul over here in Monsey, there's a stall in the shul, which basically you have a wide Chalal Pesach, wide entrance, but that means wide this way and wide this way, in the depth and in the width. Then they put on the doors. That's from marble. The wide, the width, the whole is marble. Then they put on a doors, which it goes on hinges on wood pieces. In such a case, they put on two mezuzahs, and basically that's it's kedai. That's the way how to do it. Because if it would have been less than gimel tfochem, or then you could still say it's enough to put on the wood. But if it's very wide, Poiskim will say, we'll go in a little bit next week more in detail on this thing, because we are heading to 9 o'clock. But in such a case, it is kedai to put, if it's wide, a real wide entrance, you're going to put one mezuzah on the right side, on the marble, and you're going to put one mezuzah also on the mezuzah, which is the doorpost, which the mezuzah are. If it's less than gimel tfochem, then we don't have an issue about it. We say it's one thing, and you're going to put it on the outside, because that's considered the whole the Chalal Pesach. But if it's wider, and then comes built in on top, which comes out separate Chalal Pesach. You understand what you have the picture what I'm saying?
I don't understand the case.
Do you get it? Okay,
No.
you have an entrance to a shul. Now you have an entrance to a shul. They made a beautiful, beautiful shar. That means has a wide shar, which probably I would say
Like the ulam, like the ulam. Like
Yeah,
the double door.
but it's only a shar. It's a shar. That means then comes the doors. That means from the shar, which it begins till the door, you will have a couple of feet. Then comes the door, which the door has posts and 2 double doors. In such a case, you have 2 shars. You have the shar, which is the brick or which is the marble, which over there you got to put a mezuzah. That's a regular shar. Then you have the shar, which goes inside. That's also a shar. If it is, for instance, in some apartment buildings, or even not in apartments, even in regular private houses, you will have the doorpost. Then when you put on the double doors or whatever, it comes already with the frame. Yeah, it comes already. You buy it. It's not, you don't buy the door. You buy the door to get only the door. You buy the whole thing, the whole frame. It has 2 sides, glasses on the side. Yeah. So basically, you have a separate mashkef. But you have also the mashkef, which is on top, outside, which is, 2 tfachim, a couple of inches moved. Do you have the tzir? Well, we don't have pictures. In most, I wouldn't say was, but a lot of houses, you're going to have the doorpost, which is a wooden doorpost, or a brick, whatever your house is. Then you're going to have put on a door with a post, and it has a plate with another mashkef. Now, if from the beginning of the doorpost till the door is less than gimel tvachim, then of course we have nothing what to talk about. It is considered 1 mashkef, and you don't put 2 mezuzahs. But if you have a longer way, a wider, so then it is you put one on the metal or on the brick or on the marble, and then you're going to put one also on the door itself, which that's a different door frame.
In other words, in this case, that you have the door opening, and the door frame is then recessed within the opening, say a foot or something like this,
or more, yes,
or whatever. But it's a recessed door frame. So now you have this part, and then you have on the end of it you have a frame inside of it.
Then you have a regular frame with a doorpost in it. In such a case, basically you have two doorposts, and you're going to it's kedai to put 2 mezuzahs on it. If it's another one, then you put 1 and you're clear to go.
Is there a sefer that came out recently on mezuzahs, which was a good sefer?
There is a few very good svarim. There's one which is like a Mishnah Berurah, which is called Pischei Mezuzahs, which has it's a good sefer because he made the whole Hilchos Mezuzah 2 ways. One way is like Hilchos Mezuzah, like a Mishnah Berurah, which has the mechaber and a letter and brings you down to look what the Achronim say. Then he made in the back the same sefer, but like the new style, an inyonim. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? Chalal Pesach, all the halachos which goes into that category. So that's a very nice sefer to buy.
Like
And
like visualizations.
Also the way how we what?
Visualizations, this kind of thing.
He has and then he has in the back also pictures. Whatever halacha brings, he writes Tziyur page that and look the Tziyur. That's very good. Then you have other svarim, which is basically the new style, which doesn't go according to the Shulchan Aruch, it goes to the Inyonim. Yeah, the standard style nowadays, which you go Procom, they make their own pairing. Which then you have a sefer which is called Sefer HaMezuzah, which was probably traced they will be the best because it's the newest. And you have one which is called Seichel Toiv. There are good Hilchos Mezuzah Svarim, I learned Mezuzah twice. The first time I learned it, I didn't have that much of svarim, so it was much harder, and there wasn't so much pictures. But today's day, you have a lot of svarim. It's kedai, especially a person which is a shliach, and he will have to all kind of shalas. It's kedai to purchase it, and then you can be able to find. The only thing, Male, which we have is today's day is that today's day you have WhatsApp, and you could send for Rabbanim which do have WhatsApp, you could send pictures, which I have. It's probably every day a couple of shalas on Mezuzah, because there's a person in Monsi, his name is Rabbi Cass and Rabbi Shapiro, Rabbi Spry, two people which make house calls. And they go around, and whenever they have a shaila, they just make a picture, send it WhatsApp, and but it's kedai to have this forum to look up, because if you put it the way which is possible, then basically you made mezuzah and you only made it worse. Okay, so we're going to continue Mitzvah Shem. I think 2 weeks, next week is like Voimer, 2 weeks from now, and then we're going to finish up other halachas which we simarish by test, and odds and ends from other simonim, and
so like Voimer we don't have.
No, next week you don't have. And
okay, I'm actually very happy. I mean, I'm not happy to hear this because we won't have a shiur, but I have a big Tzivus Hashem rally that I have to run that day, so it makes my life easier.
Okay, so he took you in consideration, and they made it Chof Hei. I think it's Chof Hei year, the next year. Mirz Hashem.
All right.
And good night.
Okay, thank you very much.
If you have other questions in the meantime, you're going to prepare it, and we're going to talk it over together.
What if you can put again? It was very, very helpful that you put which Simonim was for the next year. It was very, very helpful. So if you could do that, if you remember to do that again on which Simonim inside is we're going to cover, that's very, very helpful.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay, sei gesund and a good night.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Amen.